Hey everybody, it's Trevor Connor with Hearts and Minds, and you're listening to the Get Mental podcast. This show is bringing technique and tools and science and stories all together in one place for those who have a desire at making not only athletes and teams better at performance, but also making them a better human being. On today's episode 4, we bring a really good friend of Hearts and Minds on this episode with us. His name's Luc Meacham. Luc is a retired Navy SEAL, and Luc is now transitioning to his next journey, become a professional football player as he's traveling overseas to play for a German football team. This is a really fun podcast, really fun episode. Guys, I'm so pumped you're here. Without further ado, let's get mental. Hey, welcome back to the Hearts and Minds podcast. This is episode 4, and welcome to the Get Mental podcast. So we have with me joining today is Dave Matthews, again, mental fitness coach out in LA, part of our Hearts and Minds team. And then we have an awesome guest. I'm so excited about this interview. This is with Luc Meacham. Luc is I'm not going to tell a story. His story is incredible. I've got introduced to Luc here about a year and a half ago. And just listening to the story, I knew from the moment that I spoke with him, this is a guy I want to keep track of. And we did the best that we can at Hearts and Minds to keep track of our athletes and work with them throughout their entire journey. But Luc has an incredible story. And again, I'm not going to get into it other than ex-All-American collegiate athlete turned naval special warrior turned now professional football player. So that being said, let's hop right in. Luc, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I appreciate you both for having me.
Man, again, we got connected through one of our mutual contacts and friends, or one of my friends, one of your ex-teammates, but I guess colleague. What's the verbiage? He was a member of the special warfare community.
Yeah, first time I met him, he was a mentor for me, and kind of full circle moment, circling back, we became teammates together at SEAL Team 2, and then now we've been connected by him, and so it's been kind of a full circle moment here.
Well, in preparation for this podcast as well, we were exchanging a few text messages going back and forth because I listened to a previous podcast that you'd shot. And as you mentioned, kind of full circle, I was putting a couple dots together of like, man, I think we may have crossed paths in 2015 when I was transitioning out of Ohio.
Yeah, again, a full circle moment. I had no clue that, one, I'd be teammates with a mentor of mine who was getting me ready for the vigorous training that I was getting ready to go to. And now as I'm pursuing this professional sport career, crossing paths with you, who you have connections to the sport world. It's been cool for the journey.
For sure. So I guess bring everybody kind of, let's start at ground zero. Again, I kind of give a ambiguous introduction about yourself, your background. If you can, I guess bring us kind of like back to the basics. Like tell us your story, tell us, where you're from, growing up and family, and go for it.
Yeah.
Help us get to know you.
Yeah, absolutely. So born and raised in Toledo, Ohio. I've got 3 siblings, 2 younger brothers and an older sister, and very fortunate with the parents that I have. Never really was pressured to do any sports. I just kind of fell into sports as a young kid. Played travel soccer. Basically, from the time I could walk, I started playing soccer, and played travel soccer up until my high school, my freshman year in high school. Dabbled in some other sports, played baseball and some basketball, but soccer was my sport. And getting into football, there was a team that used to train at the field where I grew up, and I always wanted to play football. I'd run routes with my dad in the rain and all that. You set up garbage cans in the field, and you just start running routes. And I always wanted to play football a little bit, but my parents wouldn't let me until I hit high school. I hit high school, and it just really opened my eyes a little bit. One, getting into high school, things turn up, the intensity turns up a little bit. And then my first coach was a prior special forces guy. And so the intensity and the demeanor that he carried himself with, and just the physical nature of the game of football, really intrigued me. And so I definitely, I felt at home in the game of football. So yeah, played football. Really wasn't too sure if I was gonna go on and play football in college, but I loved the game, and so I started getting recruited by one D1 school, a couple D2 schools, and then a couple of D3 schools, and I ended up landing at the University of Mount Union, which is a perennial powerhouse in the Division III level. So I visited them, and I knew kind of from the start that that's where my home was. I really felt the connection with the coaching staff, with the program, being able to have the opportunity to play for a national championship. Yeah, it's at the Division III level, but those guys could play, and being able to play on ESPN. I mean, that was every kid's dream, to be able to play on national television, playing a sport that they love. There was no question that Mount Union was going to be my home. So I ended up going to Mount Union, and really realized that, I mean, there was, I don't know, 150 kids walk in freshman year. They're all freshmen. I don't know, guys are coming in thinking they're the big dogs coming from their high school, and thinking they're coming to a Division III level to play and to start. Then that was not the case by any means. So really learning how to be patient and stay patient and learn and develop as a player. I did everything that I needed to do, be very coachable and learn and grow, and develop as an athlete. And fortunately, my time kind of came to fruition my sophomore year in the playoffs, when the guy in front of me, who was an upperclassman, got injured. And it was really my opportunity to step in. I caught a really important pass in the semifinal game, and we ended up going to the national championship and winning. And yeah, kind of the rest is history with college football. Became an All-American, a two-time team captain at Mount Union. And then it was kind of like, all right, I think I want to go and try the NFL route. So yeah, I basically declared for that 2015 draft, trained, and had a pro day in my hometown at the University of Toledo. And really, that was my first moment where I kind of shit the bed. Like I didn't perform that well. And being able to look back now, as I'm now pursuing this professional career, there's a lot of things that I didn't do then that I knew that I wasn't going to make that mistake twice. As technical as those combine drills are, I kind of just worked out like I normally did. I didn't train properly. And coming out of a small school, I mean, those guys at the next level are legit athletes, and that you need to be able to perform and show that you are fast. And so I just didn't do that. But at the time, I knew that, I don't know, I needed to shift my focus, and I'm the type of guy that I need to be striving for something great, something big. And so thinking back, the transition now to the military, again, my first high school coach, he was a former SEAL, and if I'm going to do something, I want it to be the hardest, the toughest, I want the percentage to be the lowest of being able to make it.
So So pause right there.
Yeah.
When you say that there's okay, so here's what I'm hearing.
Yep.
You're driven by that low percent, or the odds are stacked against you.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that. Like that's
and again, I don't know exactly where that comes from or what that's just kind of always been in me. Again, my upbringing, I had kind of the freedom to do what I want, but I was always taught, hey, if you're going to commit to something, do it. And so I really had the luxury of kind of trying and figuring out what I liked, and when I have a passion about something and I have my mind set on something, I will dedicate everything to get it done.
Random question. When you were a kid growing up, even when you're in high school, how was failure looked at in your household growing up with the values instilled in you?
Yeah.
How was failure looked at? Because your parents are saying, pursue everything to the highest degree.
Yeah.
If you're going to commit, man, go for it. But inevitably, you're going to run into some pressures and moments where you didn't succeed. Like, how was the mindset shaped growing up?
Again, I think the pressure of, like, I didn't have pressure from my parents. So I didn't have high if they didn't want me to be go to practice today and I need you to run this time. I need you to catch this many passes. They let me be a kid, which I think, kind of looking at kids nowadays, there's a lot of pressure on kids. And so I think, and again, I don't know if my parents knew this at the time. I definitely didn't know it at the time when I was growing up. They took me to practice and they wanted me to have fun. And it was me kind of falling in love with the game, falling in love with the sport, falling in love with those adverse situations of what what sports kind of dictates. That's just kind of where I felt comfortable.
And it sounds like you had a very influential coach also at that level where you probably revered, respected.
Absolutely.
The intensity he brought.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, no question. Again, playing soccer as a kid all the way through my 8th grade year and then getting to high school. And it's like, whoa, this is, one, a new sport. 2, the intensity is definitely turned up. And I just kind of fell in love with it. Things were new. Things were exciting. And again, the respect that he demanded, and the attention to detail, I just felt like I was definitely in my element. Now I'm looking back and I'm able to say, okay, that's what I learned, or that's what I was doing. And at the time, like, I didn't know what I was feeling. So I think, again, being set and committed on something and having my parents say, hey, like, if you're going to commit to something, you have to see it through. Like, you might not enjoy it at the time, or you might not do great at it. You're going to fail, but at least stick it out and see it through. And again, as far as like those mental, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of like those cues or anything that I was learning or I was doing. I think the commitment and kind of the visualization of things, seeing myself go through these hardships. I didn't have everything handed to me as a kid. I always had to work for everything I got. And that teaches, especially young people, a lot. I did yard work as a kid. Like that was my job. And yard work may seem like a senseless little thing, but you're out there in the middle of summer and it's hot, and you got a ton of mulch to spread out, and you got a shovel, and it's like, well, I'm here for how many hours, and I'm just gonna put my head down and do it. That's got nothing to do with the game of football, but at the same time, you learn very valuable things. And hey, I've got this task ahead of me. I've got this job, and this point A and point B. How am I going to get to the end? Then, you just you put your head down and you do it. And the reward at the end of it, of being able to accomplish something that's difficult, that's a very powerful thing.
You're really highlighting the fact that, obviously this is going to take you to Buds, because Buds instructors are hammering you guys with this all the time, and you also in the lead up and the getting ready to go out even to Coronado. So Buds, if you can just give everybody a quick 20-second rundown. What is Buds?
Yeah, Buds is the pinnacle of military training. I mean, it's the toughest 6 months of military training that you can go through. And I mean, it's a kick in the nuts. I mean, there's no sugarcoating it. It's hard.
And I know the stats, but again, working with the NSW community in the past, but tell everybody real quick, like how many people was in your class, and then how many people ended up graduating? Just no rollbacks, no injuries, just like how many people made it straight through?
So we started, I'd say around 225 in that area of guys. And out of that number, it was about a dozen of us that were the OG class 325 guys, guys that didn't get hurt, guys that didn't get, that got performance rolled or anything like that. So, I mean, the attrition rate is
a low number.
Very high.
And people that have, learned or watched a little bit from the outside in about the SEAL community is whenever somebody taps out, there's a bell.
Yes.
Everybody rings the bell.
Yep.
So you highlighted this even in yard work and doing some mundane task, right? When I've worked with guys getting ready in the lead up as well in the NSW world, in all the spec war pipelines, there's an element that you have to keep harping on. And if you can highlight on this, is embrace the suck.
Yep.
That's what I kind of heard you say.
Oh, yeah.
And then understand it's a game.
Yeah.
Like Buds is as brutal as it is physically and mentally, it is a game. And instructors, my understanding, even talking with a few instructors out, it is, I'm going to do everything in my power to get guys to quit. Talk about that, and then also, if you can, relate that back to an athlete, because a lot of athletes, we're Dave and I are seeing with especially our younger athletes, we're in this culture right now where there's this unbelievable drive for instant gratification, instant access, instant success, overnight things. It's kind of like the microwave, kind of put it in, get my food right away. If you can, highlighted that just from military experience, but then also, if you can, connect it back to being an athlete.
Yeah. So number one, I mean, again, Buds is a 6 month. Without using all the profanity words that I can, I mean, it's a grind. And if you think of the end result, think of graduating Buds and then getting to basically our A school. If you think on day one about the very last day in month 6, you're not going to make it. You really need to focus on the here and now. They teach us and tell us one evolution at a time, one run at a time. Think more, I guess, as we would say, like front sight focus. So like think short term instead of long term.
Yes.
So people can get very overwhelmed with the thought of Buds as a whole. You're going to be doing countless runs, countless swims, countless push-ups, wet and sandy all the time. Like there's so much that goes into it. But if you focus on the here and now, focus on one evolution at a time, whatever's directly in front of you, those people are oftentimes the ones that are able to make it through. It's an overwhelming experience. I mean, you're constantly kind of on edge. You never know when the instructors are going to pop out and make you do something. And so you really just kind of got to embrace the moment. And it's going to be 6 months. It's going to be long, whatever. But like, hey, today, what do I have to do today? Think of today. And you do that over the course of 6 months. I mean, it's it's a very overwhelming process. And the instructors, if they find a crack in your armor, I mean, they're gonna tear you apart. So again, it's a game. You got to play the game, and understand that it's one evolution at a time.
Do you have one or two quick stories of what of a crack in somebody's armor that you saw firsthand, perhaps on one of your boat crews or one of your team things that you did through buds, that you can look back and say, there's a really good chance that's why that guy cracked, that's why that guy tapped out?
Yeah.
Do you have any stories like that?
So I touched on it before in the other podcast, but like I had a Division I linebacker on my boat crew, just an absolute specimen, a hoss of a guy. Like no problem. Like he could lift the log by himself. He was a rollback guy, so he had been through the first few weeks of buds before. Day one of Hell Week, we touched the log, and he's gone. I never see him again. And building up to that moment, there was, I don't know, he was starting to say, oh, my ankle's not doing okay, or just letting kind of some negative thoughts creep into his mind. And we're often taught like positive self-talk, visualization. Don't let a negative thought kind of come to fruition in your mind, because if you give yourself an out, ultimately, if times get tough, you're most likely going to take that out.
Yeah.
So again, you've got a physical specimen who can handle the load of the log and everything, but the lead up to the kickoff of Hell Week, and it just got, whether it was just a low moment or something, he allowed himself to kind of break, and that was it.
Wow.
And so those things that you learn, you just can't let yourself, if you want to get through it, again, front sight focus on the here and now, and just don't give yourself an option if you truly want to stick around, because things are going to get harder than you've ever had to experience. You're going to be more tired, more beat up than you've ever been, you ever most likely will be. And mentally, it's the mental capacity that somebody has to make it through. So if they give themselves an out when times get tough, they're probably going to take the out.
And once you finish the 6-month buds, then you start finishing school.
Yeah.
They still call it finishing school?
So it's called SQT, which is SEAL qualification training. So that's another 6 months more. It's our A school. So basically our job training. So what we would start doing once we get to our team.
Okay. And you kind of highlighted and mentioned it, but if you can, well, once you finished college sports, the pros didn't work out, the tryouts didn't work. Why, of all jobs, why did you enlist in not only just the Navy, but why'd you go to the recruiter? Because like I know the pipeline typical, you go straight in if you ask for a contractor and obviously go through a scout, go through the whole mentorship process. Why the SEALs?
Yeah. So again, my first high school coach was a prior SEAL, and I knew that was kind of the tip of the spear, at least as far as the military training and special forces. And when I was coming out of high school, I had flirted with the thought of going to somewhere like a West Point or Naval Academy or something. But I had the opportunity to go to Mount Union, and so I went to Mount Union. So the military always intrigued me. After that 2015 draft, I was asked to play for the U.S. national team for football. And so the sense of pride, being able to put on a jersey that said USA on it, carry the flag out. It was very patriotic and prideful, and I felt the need and the drive to pursue kind of the military. And again, just the type of guy that I was, and the type of guy that I am, I wanted to go and do the hardest thing. So the SEAL team was that. So yeah, I talked to the recruiter and started that process, and I kind of never looked back, never gave myself any other option or choice. It was that.
There's a consistency emerging, and that is, you're a switched on guy.
Yes.
When I make a decision, it's a yes. And I picked that up even last year when you and I spoke on the phone, because I was listening to you guys talk about I'm transitioning, I'm leaving the teams, I'm wanting to pursue this next route of professional football and professional sports, and I was doing everything I could to do the best I could to connect you with the right people in the right places. But there was one thing that just stuck out to me that was glaring obvious, and every person I spoke to, I hammered this point home, and I'm hearing it echo again, and I need to be able to bring this back to our audience and our athletes. Is, if you listen to the tone of which Luc is talking, listen to the conviction in his words, but when he makes his mind up, it's the equivalent of that switch is on and it's a yes. And sports psych wise, mental training wise, we see a lot of athletes where, as you mentioned, they start talking themselves out of perhaps being fully committed, or they'll start doubting halfway through, or they're pushing the rock uphill and yet the rock's starting to slide back a little. Well, if it's a yes, you keep persevering, you keep going. And I keep hearing that over and over and over again. So, man, I'm really motivated and inspired to hear that, because we don't hear enough of it.
Yeah.
We just fly by.
Yeah.
So,
and don't get me wrong, like I've had my down moments, and especially these last 2 years of getting back into football, I've questioned myself. Is this the right decision? Am I doing the right thing? I have days where my body doesn't feel good, or I'm doubting myself. But again, I don't try and kick those ideas to the curb. I mean, I let them, hey, if I'm having those thoughts today, let me think about it. Let me see. But normally the next day I'm back on, and I get back in the gym or something like that. I mean, I've done I did a pro day for the NFL before this past season. I've done XFL things, and I failed. I didn't get there. But again, there's always opportunity somewhere, and I knew that I was going to play football. I didn't know where, I didn't know how, but I knew if I was consistent and I showed up and I met people like you, met all these people that I've been connected with, and I just kind of get in front of as many people as I possibly can and learn from the best. I knew in my mind that I was going to be talented enough to be able to play football again.
So I could go down a lot of different rabbit holes, because I'm so fascinated by the story at large of, again, college, SEAL teams, professional football. What are some? You're a big picture guy. You're a big dreamer, if I can use that word. And you're a guy that has tremendous conviction. Typically, when I see these things, these same kind of qualities and characteristics in our younger athletes, typically I'm on the phone with mom and dad relatively quickly, and I'm encouraging mom and dad from the lens of, your kid's got some special qualities and traits, and I want you to really do the absolute best that you can to help this kid dream big and be willing to really push hard for what they want to do and put them in an adverse situation. So looking back, throughout this journey in the past, let's call it even, 2012, the last 10 years, is there any one or two monumental moments that really changed the trajectory of your thinking, changed the way, or really kind of your operating mentality of where did that where did this confidence come from? Where did this belief come from? Or was this slowly developed? I know I touched on it earlier, but is there one or two memories or one or two moments that stick out to you as, we call them anchoring moments?
One, I think it's been developed over time. I think some really pivotal moments for me, one in 2012, when we won the national championship, going into my junior year, I then became that guy. I was the team captain. That year I was an All-American. And, just really having to dig deep and grind out days and kind of be on the low end, and then being rewarded with an opportunity and then shining in those moments. That was a huge confidence boost for me going into my junior year, where I was selected and elected as a team captain as a junior. That's a huge reward for me. I want to be a leader of men. I want to be looked at by my peers as somebody they can look up to. That's always how I've held myself. I've held myself to that standard of be someone who you wish that you could look up to, or be the example that everybody kind of wants to be.
Right.
So my junior year, I was team captain. I was All-American. And again, going into my senior year, team captain again. And so that having that responsibility as a captain for your team, it's a lot of responsibility, but it was what I wanted. And then being able to have a great career at Mount Union and then transition into the NFL, and then ultimately failing at what I wanted to do, but looking at the big picture and realizing, hey, I wanted to pursue something harder. And being able to make it through that is a huge, obviously, boost of confidence. But I never doubted that I couldn't do it. So one of the biggest things, and like often asked, like, did you ever have a moment where you wanted to quit or anything like that? Not a single chance, not a single thought.
I'm not going to ask that question.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
I've learned too much so far.
But it's like, where did that come from? Again, when I set my mind onto something, I'm going to get it done. It might not be, again, a direct path, like say my football, for example. Like, it's not been a direct path. I mean, obviously there's an 8-year window where I wasn't playing football, but here I am now getting ready to go and play again. So again, if you've got the dream, and if you've got the drive and the determination to get something done, commit to it. My parents would always joke, like, I was a hard-headed kid, because I don't know, when I had my eyes set on something, like, that's all I wanted to do. So maybe I didn't want to go and, I don't know, this isn't a right example, but maybe I didn't want to go to the skate park and skate when all I wanted to do was go and play soccer or something like that. Like, everything I did had a purpose. Everything I did was kind of a step towards my end goal, whether at the time it was soccer or football or eating nutritious foods rather than a McDonald's sandwich or something. I'm very I'm intention driven. So everything has kind of a role. So there's a purpose behind everything I do. Now I might be kind of a square at times where I don't go out and party and things like that. And again, that wasn't ultimately getting me to where I wanted to be. And you can obviously certainly have fun and do other things, and I've had a lot of fun, but again, when those moments are not as frequent as, I guess, maybe somebody else. Again, because I've got a goal in mind, and I want to do everything I can to get there.
Right. I believe you. I really do.
Yeah.
In when I'm talking with athletes, I think there's oftentimes when I'm listening to their goals, I'm listening to their dreams and where their heart's at, and I think another thing is where's their discipline at. And there's a handful of times when I'm listening to an athlete, and Luke, there's a difference between I would like to accomplish this goal, I would like to hit this objective, I would like to, but then there's a whole nother breed of athlete, and you're coming from this angle, and see if this really resonates. I need to, I want to, I have to, I got to, I must.
Yeah.
And when you flip that, that's your front focus, is I think you're really keen on. I describe it the way we explain it, or I explain it to athletes, is when you flip on the light switch. I'm looking at a light switch in my office right now, but as you flip that light switch on, it takes an equal or opposite force to flip that light switch off.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens is a lot of times is athletes will start playing with that toggle switch, and it creates that strobe effect. Well, your brain thrives on simple decisions, and I'm sure you could echo this not only with the SEAL team's experience, but also within training to be an athlete again. Is I know that you're into cold plunges.
Yeah.
I know that I'm watching your training. I'm following you on social, and I'm trying to keep up with you. And there's times I almost bet that you're in an off switch until it's like, nope, I'm in. I'm doing it. I'm going. And when you do it, that decision is made up. That's the position in the camp of I need to, I must, I have to. And when you want to, it's different than it'd be nice.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And I'm definitely in that realm of that the light switch compared to versus the toggle, the dimmer switch. Like I'm
right.
And it I don't know, good or bad or otherwise. Yeah, I have, if I'm going to make a commitment, I'm going to stick to it and see it all the way through.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk goals real quick. And then also, if you can, help me, and not just me, man, I know I'm on it. I don't want to say I'm on the inside, but I already know the answers, but help everybody out. Like, where are you going? What's next for you? Where are you heading? And then also, how can we follow?
Yeah. So I just finished up my a 6-year enlistment in the Navy. So I separated in November, and for the last about year and a half, I've been trying to get back onto the football field. So I signed a deal or a contract with a team over in Germany in the German Football League, the New Yorker Lions out of Braunschweig. Again, another, it's been cool. So I played at Mount Union, a perennial powerhouse. I went to the teams, a very tradition-based program with a lot of legacy and great people. And now I'm getting an opportunity to go and play in Germany, where the league's been around since the 80s, and the New Yorker Lions have kind of been that team. And a tremendous coaching staff, great guys, great players, great town. So I signed a contract to go play for them, and I'm getting ready to leave next week. And so really my only socials are Instagram, and you can find me at Saucy Paws, Saucy Paws 288. And I got,
we're gonna have to get that story on the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, definitely follow the journey. It's been fun. And I'm very grateful for the people I've met along the way, because I definitely wouldn't be where I'm at without just making connections with the right people and with great people, and just keeping open relationships with people, being kind. And so you never know. It's a connection-based world, connection-driven world. And, you never know when an opportunity or a connection that you make down the road is going to be the one that's going to get your foot in the door. And so it's just been very fortunate to meet a lot of great people. And yeah, I mean, my goal and where I'm going is the NFL. There's no question about it. How as a 30-year-old who hasn't played in 8 years, how am I going to get there? So step one is getting back on the field and playing over in Germany.
Hey, I love that. the illustration that pops into mind is the same kind of illustration I've heard many times through guys going through buds, is how do you eat an elephant?
Yeah, one bite at a time.
You chunk that sucker down, and you do tack that thing one bite at a time. So, no, I genuinely believe you, and I'm going to be following. Selfishly, I'm going to be following because, silently, I may not say anything.
Yeah,
I'm cheering,
absolutely.
And I think that's one of the highlights of what we do from our end is we live for the light bulb moment, but then we live for seeing people succeed and accomplish great things when they've been discounted, they've been told things. Perhaps you're too slow, you're too short, or you're too big, or whatever. Yeah. All those types of disqualifiers, and then the uncommon ones stand up and they say, "Bring it."
Yeah,
I'm that guy. And to me, that inspires me so much and encourages me to selfishly follow even closer. So, at Saucy Paws 288, that's your Instagram handle. Yep. All right, so guys, follow Luc throughout his journey. I encourage you, and Luc, if there's anything that we can do from the Hearts and Minds team, we are a team of sports psych mental professionals. If we can help out performance enhancement or anything, by all means, reach out to us, let us know. And also, when you get situated over in Germany, you're going to have to DM me your address because we're going to hook you up with some swag overseas.
Sounds good.
And just for coming on, joining us on this podcast, and really appreciate you taking the time before you fly. And one more thing, I got to ask, because I did a distance relationship before I got married with my wife, and it was tough.
Yeah.
And I know that you're married, but now your wife, my understanding, she's a heck of an up and coming singer in Nashville.
Yes. Yeah. So my wife, Julia, she's incredible. Incredible.
Give her some love. Who do we need to follow?
Yeah. So Julia Larkin Music, she moved to Nashville, where I'm at currently, but she moved here about a little under a year and a half ago. And again, made that leap, chasing a dream, which it's a beautiful thing in our relationship to both be able to do that, and be each other's number one fan and biggest supporter. So I'm forever grateful for her, and I know she's grateful for me. And so, yeah, she's doing her thing here in Nashville. She just put out her debut single a couple months ago, and she'll have another one coming out this summer, and her third one will be out in the fall. So,
wow.
Yeah, Julia Larkin Music on all the socials, and you can find her on Spotify and Apple Music and everything.
Okay, so, man, your kids are going to have an awesome legacy to live up to, because dad's world-class in every regard. Mom is world-class. Man, this is a superstar family in the making. Man, I'm so excited for you guys. This is awesome. I knew that she was an up-and-comer, but I didn't know that her singles are coming out, and definitely going to be following that myself again, selfishly rooting for that success.
Yeah.
So,
well, thank you for everything, Trevor. I appreciate it. And
you bet.
We'll definitely stay in touch, and I'd love to work together. So I appreciate it.
You bet. But shout out to Dave. Dave, thanks for connecting us, hooking us up all the last year, and appreciate it. And no, we truly keep track of good people. So Hearts and Minds, our mission is always, as much as we care about the athlete and the performance, we care a heck of a lot more about who you are as a person. Find us at hmperform.com, or you can follow us on social. Myself, my handle, I believe, is @TrevorConnor on Instagram, or @HM_perform. Guys, this is going to wrap up episode 4. Luc, thank you again for this. This has been awesome. We're just going to have you back.
Yeah.
Like, I've got so many more things I want to ask you. So,
I'd love to.
Anyway.
I'd love to be back. So let's make it happen.
Till next time.
All right,
guys, take care. TC out.